Welcome to Dark Docent. My name is Jake. Join me as I guide my friend James down the paranormal rabbit hole, attempting to prove the authenticity of a new case each week. Today's case, the missing 411.
How are we doing today, Jake?
Not bad, brother. Doing good. I'm just proud of how much this show has grown in the short amount of time that we've been doing it. And I'm pretty stoked on it. Through all the late nights and everything like that, it feels good to accomplish something that a lot of people didn't think we could do, or didn't think it was serious, at least.
Did anyone tell you that we couldn't do it?
A lot of people thought it was like, oh, you're making a show? Okay. And then people are like, oh, it's like an actual show. And not just dudes bullshitting on a fucking podcast like normal.
No matter how hard I try, you get me back in line.
I do. I keep you in line. But with that, I've also started to get some help with the research. And today, I definitely needed it. Because we got a big case today, brother.
How big?
This is probably the biggest case that we have done so far. Maybe not fame-wise, but from sheer quantity of how mysterious and how many strange things that have happened within it.
I kind of want to guess, but I feel like if I guess right, that kind of ruins it in a way.
Okay, then don't guess. I have a story for you. June 14th, 1969. Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee. The Martin family is going on a Father's Day camping trip. They're supposed to be out for a couple days just for the weekend. It's the Martin family and one other family. So far, it's been a picturesque trip. The kids are having fun, the adults are relaxing, and it just seems like something out of like maybe a Hallmark movie. Just an excellent time. And part of this great time was the fathers would play a trick on the young kids, hiding behind trees, jumping out and scaring the kids. Of these kids, one of them is Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old who just absolutely loves the outdoors. They are camping near a place called Spence Field, which is known to being a high elevated plateau surrounded by trees. And the kids decided that they were going to play the trick back on the dads. They found a bush just off the side of the camp, and they thought they were all going to hide behind the bush and jump out and scare their dads. They think they're being real sneaky. But obviously the dads kind of know what's going on. One of those things. So the several boys hide behind the bush. And just when the dads get close enough, they all jump out and scare them. And they all react, oh, it's a great, wonderful time. They're laughing. But there's one problem. Where's Dennis? They look behind the bush. Dennis isn't there. Dennis isn't anywhere in the vicinity. He was right beside them before they jumped out of the bush. Dennis's father begins running around the campsite looking for Dennis. He ends up running 2 miles away from the campsite, screaming his son's name, to no response. He quickly goes back to the nearest ranger station, says that his son is missing. The rangers quickly begin organizing a search. They tell everyone, we're missing a child, we need help for the search. 1,400 people come out for this search the next day. This includes volunteers, search and rescue, police, even Green Berets are coming out to help this search. This is the largest search in Smoky Mountain history to this day. And I want you to understand what this search has. It's not just people linking arms and walking through the woods. They have people diving off every cliff, climbing mountains, looking through every nook and cranny. They have helicopters, they have hounds, everything they can to find Dennis. But after a massive week-long search, they did not find a single piece of evidence. No footprints, no piece of clothing, no blood, no hair, nothing. It is as if Dennis Martin vanished from reality. And to this day, no evidence of Dennis has ever been found. It's a strange case, and people still have no explanations. But Dennis isn't the only person to go missing in national parks. In fact, there are thousands of people that have gone missing in national parks with no reasonable explanation, leading to a phenomenon that to this day, we have way more questions than we have answers. James, have you heard of the missing 411?
I have, actually.
What do you know about the missing 411?
That people go missing in national parks, and sometimes their clothes are found folded, and that's about it.
Well, that actually sums up a very broad term of the missing 411. But there's a lot more to it. Remains are found in odd places they shouldn't be, or appearing in places they have already been searched. Some people go missing for years and their bodies don't turn up till years later. It's a very strange phenomenon, and even through all the research we've done, we still have no answers on what it could be. And actually, we didn't start looking into it until the 21st century. This all started with investigation from a man named David Paulides. David Paulides is a former police officer turned private investigator. He was a police officer in California for over 20 years. He had done some research for different weird cases that had happened in parks. He wasn't really focused on it, but he'd written some books about different things. And he was actually out doing research in Yosemite National Park. He was actually working on a missing persons case. As he was out there investigating, 2 park rangers were with him, and they kept asking him questions like, hey, what are you doing out here? How's the book going? They kind of knew what his writing was about, and they were kind of interested. And he was talking to them kindly, and nothing really happened. And he did whatever he could, investigated that day, and went back to his hotel room. That night, both rangers knocked on his door separately, and both of them said, we think there's something that you need to look into. They told him that they had worked at other parks, and they have seen a lot of missing people. But these strange disappearances seem to follow with weird events, and they can't explain it. And the reason they came down to this is because those 2 rangers actually worked at separate parks and worked at this park, and they began comparing notes on strange disappearances and found that there was a lot of similarities. Usually, the first week gets a lot of press, and there's a lot of effort in the search. But after the first week, it quiets down really quick, like press shuts off everything. Also, lots of these disappearances happen in areas that weren't that deep in the woods, but in very populated areas. David said he'd look into it, and he would call some of his law enforcement friends and see if there was any validity to these claims these rangers had. Now, before I get any deeper into this case, I know what a lot of skeptical people are thinking. It's the woods. Lots of people go missing in the woods, and I think that's a pretty agreeable statement. People do go missing in the woods. And out of all the topics that I have brought up with you and several of our friends, James, this is the one that's aggravated me the most when it gets shut down. Because I have brought this up, and it's not like Bigfoot where you guys let me talk for a bit and then slowly change the topic. This one gets shut down and laughed at and joked about instantaneously. So
People do go missing in the woods.
people do go missing in the woods, and this is how it starts with every conversation we have. But these are different, and I will go over with you the differences of these. Because missing 411 cases have a very specific key to them. There's a list that you can check off to determine if it's a missing 411 case or if it's just a general disappearance.
What's that list? Tell me.
I will tell you. So lots of these disappearances are close to water or boulder fields. The area often features large lakes, rivers, strangely berry bushes, or granite boulder fields. There's also rapid weather changes. The weather changes suddenly and severely, often when they start the search. This happened in the Dennis Martin case too, and this was in the middle of June. And this seems to be a common thing occurring in other disappearances. The weather just changes like that, and it's a storm that wasn't expected. The elevation changes. And what I mean by that is victims tend to follow a path, but the path always goes up. Some people are found thousands of feet above where they were last seen. And that's not even exaggeration, that's like literal. Also, search dogs lose the scent extremely fast. They will run to an area where the person was last seen and begin to circle, as if that's where the person should be, and they find no evidence of the person. Some dogs even sit and look up, almost as if they were picked off the ground. Missing clothing or equipment. Victims are sometimes found without their clothing or any essential gear. Also, there's a certain demographic that fits within the missing 411. So it's either people who are extremely old, or extremely young, extremely smart, or have some sort of mental disability. There are some that kind of go between there, but the majority stay on either sides of the spectrum. Also, some victims, if they are found, experience amnesia or memory loss regarding the event and don't know what happened to them. And also, overall, the circumstances around the disappearance make no sense. Sometimes people that disappear are experienced outdoorsmen that just disappear off the face of the earth. And no one can really debunk any of the cases. They're very strange. They're written off, but no one can debunk them. Another thing I want to add is people will say, right off the bat, animals ate them, or it was a murder, or they had mental health issues and they probably went out there and killed themselves. Things like that.
Could have been a combo of all three.
Could have. Here's the thing. For missing 411, if there's any sign of that whatsoever, the case is thrown out. So if there's any sign of predation on the body, if there's any sign of possible foul play, or if they had any sort of mental health disorder going on, it is not in the missing 411. Okay, so they're instantly thrown out.
Okay, first theory. There's that one type of fungus, cordyceps or something. It infects things like ants or bugs.
Yep.
Kind of zombifies them in a way where it takes control of their nervous system and it makes them go up.
Okay, yes.
What if it was something funky like that?
It's a theory, and honestly, I don't blame you, because a irrational theory would be great for this.
Irrational?
Irrational.
Oh, irrational.
Sorry, not irrational. A rational
I was gonna
theory.
say it's rock solid.
No, a rational theory would be great for this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, is that some of these kids are like 2 years old, and they're found 2,000 feet in elevation.
That's human motivation, baby. Mixed with some fungus controlling your brain. That's a 2-year-old going 2,000 feet. Sheer willpower mixed with the raw power of fungus.
The raw power of fungus, eh?
The third kingdom.
Well, stick to that theory, because we may have some things that could disprove that.
All right.
So David Politis called his friends in law enforcement and said, hey, I've had a few park rangers come and talk to me, saying they think there's something weird's going on in national parks. They told him, we'll look into it, we'll gather some lists with some friends, and see if there's any validity to these claims. A few days later, they got back to David, and they said there is something strange here. There is a strange amount of disappearances that aren't looked into. That's the weird part, is that the investigation stops after they say this person goes missing, and then there's no follow-up. They said, I think you should look into this because there might be something to it. David said, all right, and he filed for a Freedom of Information Act against the National Park Service, specifically the National Park Police Force, which every National Park Service has. After filing this report, he got a phone call back 6 weeks later. And it wasn't the National Park Police. It was a lawyer representing the National Park Police. And he asked David, why do you want this information? And just to add, you can't use the rationale of why do you want the information to hold a Freedom of Information Act. That isn't allowed.
Yeah, you want it because you want it.
Yeah, you're allowed to just get it. So that's not something he's allowed to ask.
Yeah.
Well, David just told him the truth. I'm doing research. The guy said, no, we get that. And you'll get your information. We just want to know if there's any specific reason. And David said, well, there's some, strange disappearances, and I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm a private investigator. I want to see what's happening here. And he was curious if there was any lists available of missing people in your parks. The attorney responded, well, no. There's no such list as a list of missing people in national parks. Now, here's the thing that's weird. You can go to the smallest police stations anywhere in North America and ask them, could you get us a list of missing people in your area? And give them a day or so and they can get it for you.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it doesn't exist, they can find it. Right? And another thing is the national parks have a list on their website of every movie that's been filmed on national park property.
So we know they can make lists.
But you're telling me they can't make a list for the missing people?
Kinda sus.
Very sus. Well, David was a published author. So he said he was going to use his exemption as a published author to get the information. Bypass anything, get it what he needs. They said, give us some time, we'll get back to you. A few days later, they get back to him. Sorry, David, but your books aren't in enough libraries to be seen as a real author. No such condition exists. If you're a published author, you can use your exemption.
I thought you could just get that anyways. I didn't know being an author would have had any exemptions.
You should be able to just get it anyways. That's the weird part. So he was like, well, I'm a published author. Let's play this card. He's just trying anything he can.
He's just making stuff up.
Well, he could use his exemption for any other information.
Like, that's a real exemption?
Yeah.
Oh.
If he needs the information for research, you can get it. But there's nothing classified about this information. Like, the only thing that holds you against, like, if it's the information is like classified military stuff, like obvious stuff that you can't have. But he just kind of said, I'm going to use it to get the information for this, even though I should just be able to get it right off the bat.
Yeah.
This guy's hiding something. Well, he said to them, there's no such clause as you need to be in a certain amount of libraries to be accepted to use your exemption. The quote he got back was, quote, it's internal. Oh, it's now an internal clause. Well, he said, you know what? I understand you don't have a list, but how much money would it cost to put a list together? I'll use my own money, whatever it takes. I'm very curious. And the attorney says, we'll get back to you. A few days later, he gets back and says, yeah, David, we've run the numbers. So if you want one of the larger parks in America, it'll be about $34,000 for Yosemite. And if you want a list for every national park in the United States of America, it'll cost you $1.4 million for the entire Park Service.
Gotta love lawyers.
Here's the thing. You could get anyone and Excel and make a list. They said that it would cost them $65 an hour to pay professional analyst, and it would take them that amount of time. So $65 an hour times however much it takes for $1.4 million for them to get all the lists together.
Based purely on those numbers and no other factor, $1.4 million divided by $65 an hour is 21,538 hours.
Which is impossibly slow.
That's 897 days. That is 2.5 years straight. That's 2.5 years straight.
Yeah, no break, no nothing. That is hour start till you stop.
Yeah.
So that's typical government pace, because, they don't know how to fucking work. But that's insanely stupid. He even brought up the fact that you could get any intern with an Excel spreadsheet and get this done within maybe weeks. And he also said, so you could get a list. You could have a list, but it'll cost me money to get it? Like, why don't you have a list? This is strange. From then on, he was getting blocked off at every resource he could with the government. So he started to do his own research. And that's where we find a lot of these cases. He found that about a dozen people a year fall into the missing 411 case. And I have a list of a few of the creepiest stories for you, James.
I would love to hear them.
We just went over Dennis Martin. Dennis Martin's probably the most famous missing 411 case, or at least one of the most famous.
Did they ever find his body?
No, nothing. No ripped clothes, no body, no bones, no footprints, nothing.
And sorry, I know we're still fresh in this and we have a ways to go.
Yeah.
How many bodies get found of the missing 411?
I don't know the exact stat. It seems, from what I could find, like maybe it's 50-50. So sometimes they'll find a body, but the bodies they find are very strange. And if they don't find the body, they'll find other weird things that tie into something that also makes no sense. We'll start with the case of Jared Atadero. So Jared was a 3-year-old child who was going on a church group hike with his dad. This was in early October of 1999. Now, Jared was just kind of walking beside his dad, and he lagged behind a little bit, but not too far. And then, at some point, his dad turned around, and Jared wasn't there. No footprints, no nothing. He was gone. So he started looking down the trail, because they were on a path that had a decline beside it, but also an incline on the other side. So he assumed he's a 3-year-old kid. He's probably going to try to go down the decline if he disappeared that fast.
I mean, he'd probably trip and fall down the decline in no time.
Exactly. It would take a lot less time than him going up the incline. So his dad went right down there, couldn't see anything going up the incline, went down the decline. Couldn't find anything. There was no disturbances of the brush or nothing. So again, they had search and rescue come out. They had a large search get together, and they searched a massive area. Hundreds of volunteers, hundreds of people scanning each crevice, helicopters, you name it. They didn't find anything. Not a single thing. Until 4 years later. 4 years later, in May of 2003, 2 businessmen on a hike found something strange. They found some clothes, neatly folded on a log. Beside it, a tooth. Beside that, the top of a skull. So they called the police. The police found all the stuff, grabbed it all, brought it back. And they did say that it was neatly folded. It was placed there. Very strange. And they did do DNA analysis, which did confirm that this was Jared. The police said it was a cougar attack.
A cougar that folded his clothes neatly, placed a tooth beside them, and then the skull cap.
And here's the weirdest thing about that, is that his body was found 600 feet on the incline, up. And it was an area they've already searched before.
600 feet above where the clothes were?
No, 600 feet above where he disappeared. All placed, and it was an area where they searched before, and it wasn't necessarily hiding, it was like on a log. So it was obviously placed there, and they said that it was just a cougar attack. But all the biologists and stuff that looked out and saw this said this does not align with any cougar attack. There's no torn clothes, there was no screaming of the child, there was no blood at the scene. You'd find blood, the cougars go for the neck first. Nothing. And also his skull had no bite marks. The top of it, at least they had, there was nothing biting it or any sort of mauling on it. So they could not explain what it was. However, the police still wrote it off as a cougar attack and left it, and no more research went into it. David Paulides highly disagrees with this, and anyone who has looked at this case highly, highly disagrees with this. It does not align with any sort of animal attack. I have a picture of Jared's clothes, his tooth, and his skull cap if you want to see that.
Sure. I mean, no, I don't, but I also do. The morbid curiosity.
Here's Jared's clothes that were found at the scene.
The pants definitely look torn up.
The pants were definitely torn up. Here is the single tooth that was found in the log. Oddly clean.
Yeah, it didn't look like it had been sitting there for 4 years.
And here's the top of Jared Atadero's skull.
Gross.
Gross. But also, not too dirty compared to other things.
No.
Or how dirty as it should be anyway. So that's just one terrifying case. But 10 years prior, there was another terrifying case. This one was in San Bernardino Mountains, California, July 19th, 1991. 12-year-old Jared Negrete was on a Boy Scout trip on Mount Gorgonio. It was a group of several other kids and a couple camp leaders, and even though Jared was a bit slower than the other kids, he had really good determination. He was very excited for the trip. He was so excited that him and his parents double-checked his bag to make sure he had everything he needed while he was on this 2-day camping trip. At some point, while they were walking up one of the paths, Jared fell behind. And something that didn't help this is one of the Camp Scout leaders decided to do a foot race with some of the kids, which is irresponsible in itself. And when they got to the top, they noticed that Jared wasn't there. So one of the camp leaders said, "I'll go back and see where he is." When they go back down the path, there's no sign of Jared. He actually went past where they started running, and there's still no sign of Jared. And what makes this even stranger is they were in an area where both sides of the path were obstructed by large rock natural walls. There was no way for him to step off the path. There was nowhere to go. Immediately, they go back to the Rangers. Same old story. They get search and rescue together. And same old story. They had thousands of volunteers, helicopters, rock climbers. People were checking off the sides of cliffs because it's a very rocky area. They were checking any crevice in case he got stuck. Anything they could find. But for 2 days, they found absolutely nothing. Until the middle of day 2. One of the members of the search and rescue was 1,000 feet above the trail on a mountainside when he saw something. There was a boot placed there on its sole by the side of the cliff. Now he was looking at this, he found the boot, and beside it, he found a granola bar. They thought that this could probably belong to Jared. When he continued searching, 100 feet up the path, he found Jared's backpack. And inside the backpack, they found his camera. Now, they thought, hey, maybe there was something on this that could lead us to finding what happened to Jared. They got the film developed, and every picture on the camera roll just looked like a kid walking through the woods, taking pictures of trees. Everything's a little blurry, kind of off landscape photos, until the last image. The last image, the camera is facing Jared. You can see his nose and his eyes, and he is in what seems to be the pitch black of night. And they didn't know what to make of this. Lots of people freaked out when they saw this photo. One of the members of the search and rescue actually left that site and applied to be search and rescue at a different park because they were too freaked out by this. Another one of the search and rescue actually vomited once hearing about what happened and seeing the photo. I have that photo for you.
I don't know if I want to see it, but I really do.
And this is why I told you guys to fucking listen to me when I was telling you about the missing 411. There's weird shit here, and we're only 2 cases in. And it only gets weirder. Nothing gets better. This is the last known photo of Jared Negrete. And if you look back to the right, they can't tell, but there seems to be something behind him. And the weirdest part about this photo is lots of photo analysts have looked at it and claim that it doesn't match the dark of night, but the dark of being inside something.
It is a very close-up photo of the face. It's quite literally like right from the very bottom of the nose is at the bottom of the photo to just above the hairline is the top of the photo. So you have the eyes and the nose, and one of the ears is the left ear. Clearly the flash went off. It's much brighter at it's the brightest at the very bottom left corner of the photo. And it's just kind of dark around the top right where his head isn't. But you can't really make out anything behind him.
It's a very creepy photo.
How old did you say that kid was? Like 12?
12 years old. Again, really young or really old.
Yeah.
And after a week of searching, they couldn't find a single thing. Other than the backpack, the boots, and the granola bar, not a single piece of evidence has been found of Jared Negrete.
Such a weird photo. It's not like this is a selfie on a cell phone. This would have been like a wind-up click camera.
It was I can tell you the exact camera it was. It was one of those disposable cameras.
Yeah.
So they had to be developed. They couldn't just look through it like a digital camera. They had to actually develop film.
Well, same sort of thing. I mean, is like you have to have that obviously pointing, at you. So it's not like you can accidentally do that.
No one can explain what the photo is or why he took a photo of himself like that. And some people say that his eyes say a lot. like it looks like he's recognizing something, or lots of people compared it to the Blair Witch Project, the last scene of that, but no one knows what happened to Jared.
Yeah, it is a creepy photo, but I honestly was thinking it was going to be a little creepier. Like, he doesn't look scared or terrified. He's not crying. It's just kind of like almost like he didn't even know the thing was going off.
It kind of did look like that too. It's still just a weird photo, and it's weird that this was found 1,000 feet above where he went missing.
Yeah.
And as I told you before, the boy was a little out of shape and slower than the other kids. So him going up 1,000 feet elevation that fast out of nowhere is impossible.
And was this day one of the camp trip or day two?
This was day one.
This was day one, and presumably went missing in the day.
Yeah.
So it's either nighttime or it is, like you said, in something like a cave.
Lots of people think he's in something based on the light, but I'm not a photo analyst.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just conjecture or what. But we're just getting started, brother.
Ooh-wee.
I got another one for you.
Lay it on me.
1997. Olympic National Park, Washington. John Devine was a 73-year-old experienced hiker and outdoorsman. He would always spend time outdoors. He would go like mountain climbing, hiking, all sorts of activity. He told his family that he was going to be ascending Mount Baldy. However, after the day that he was supposed to get back, they heard nothing from him, so they called the police. This area is known for steep granite ridges and dense fog, so they were worried that he fell off something. They searched the whole area, and they did not find a single thing. But the weirdest part about this is the first day they went to go search for him, there was a dense storm that came in, and it caused one of the rescue copters to crash, and it killed 3 search and rescue men. So people actually stopped doing search after that because that actually withheld the search, was getting all the people and bodies out of there.
Yeah, it would definitely be a bit of a bummer.
Again, no trace of him has ever been found. So what do you think is so far? I'm giving you 4 cases. These are all strange. Do you have any theories on this right now?
Well, I think my theory about the fungus infesting these people still stands strong.
You really think so?
Sure.
Is that more to help you sleep at night?
Another alternative I don't know. There's only so many options that would lead to clothes, a tooth, and the top of a skull placed on a log 4 years later.
To me, that says intelligence.
To me, that says, sick fuck. Someone murdered.
That's what I mean. Somebody did something, or something did something.
It's not Screaming Cougar to me. I keep going back to that case because that was the big one there.
Of Jared at Darrow?
Yeah. I suppose it's not entirely... Yeah, I don't know. I was going to start just theory crafting, but...
You're
like,
at a loss
what if
today.
someone is hiking through the woods, finds, I don't know, clothing and folded it and put it on the log for someone else to find later? I don't know.
And a tooth?
Yeah.
And the top of a skull?
It was falling apart in my head. That's why I stopped myself.
That's what I mean. It's very weird. And they searched that area, and it wasn't that far from where he disappeared. And they didn't find anything for the few months long search they did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, it wasn't that extreme of a search for that long. Usually it died down after the first week or so. But still, they didn't close the search for months. And no one found that. Then all of a sudden, people stopped searching, and 4 years later, they find that on a log, almost presented.
Like, I mean, I've found gloves and put them on like a fence post before.
But would you do that if you found a tooth on top of a skull?
I mean, maybe if I don't know, man. No, I wouldn't.
Brother?
I would never touch bones or in the woods. I've come across plenty, and they're not things that you're like, ooh, let me grab onto that. They're like, ew.
Brother, I got you at a loss for words at the moment, and we're not even into the weird stuff yet. You just fucking wait, brother.
Oh, I'm waiting. I know you've got a lot to come.
The next case I have for you is a little more recent. 2004. In the same national forest that Jared Negree went missing, another young boy went missing. 9-year-old David Gonzalez. David was camping with his family. They're having a great time, just like everyone else. When his dad said, hey, could you gather us some firewood for the fire, buddy? And David said, sure thing, Dad. Went out to collect some firewood. He walked not even 60 feet away. The dad turned for a moment, and when he looked back, his son was gone. They searched the whole area around the campsite, and they couldn't find him, footprints, any blood, any trace of hair, or any clothes. Not even a shred. Disappeared. Search and rescue also found nothing. No sign of him. Until a year later. In an area previously searched, they found the bones of David Gonzalez. His clothes were folded neatly beside his body, and no cause of death could be determined. Our next case?
Sorry, how were the bones found? Was it just like a random pile of them? Were they in like a skeleton laid out?
They're like in a pile, like just kind of thrown about. The things with these remains is usually they're found all about. They're not usually together. There's signs of scavenging, but no signs of predation on the bones. No signs of mauling, something you could tell the difference of. So they have no idea what happened to David. And again, they searched this area before, a year prior, and there was nothing here. And then they find his scattered remains and folded clothes. And it's in the same national forest that Jared and Agreed went missing.
Lots of Jareds and Davids so far.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's weird how many people kind of go missing. There's also certain kinds of people that go missing. If you're a physicist, stay out of national parks. That's like the highest occupation that goes missing. If you're a physicist, there's like your likelihood of going missing in national parks goes up.
You heard it here first. If you're a physicist and you're listening to our podcast, A, what are you doing?
Yeah.
B, thank you. C, probably don't go into a national park in the United States.
Boom, we helped you. That's why they're listening. We're here to save physicists. That's what we do here. But James, it's not just all old people and young kids. Our next case is from 2014. Aaron Hedges. He's a 34-year-old man, a bow hunter, that was going out on a hunting trip with a couple friends. As they were hiking out, Aaron went ahead a little more than the rest of the group. Apparently, it wasn't that far. He just walked around a path on a slight bend, and when they went around, he was gone. So they started looking for Aaron, trying to find him. Nothing. They couldn't find anything. He went missing in the Crazy Mountains, which is actually their name. And it's also a mountain range that's known for other spooky things that are happening in it. Now, he was last seen on September 7th, 2014. And a lot of people say that this is a strange case. And it's not just because of how he went missing, but it's how he was found. I have a map of every bit of evidence that was found about Aaron Hedges. And I'm going to show you it. Ooh. Aaron went missing around Sunlight Lake. And as they did the search, they found Aaron's boots miles away and on an elevation of 9,500 feet above where he was last seen. After they found his boots, they did not find anything else of Aaron until a few years later. 2 years later, in 2016, they found Aaron's remains. Scattered about, just bones. And a few miles from there, they found his backpack. The distance he traveled was miles and miles and miles, and excesses of thousands and thousands of feet in elevation. It makes no sense the amount of things that traveled and separated along this route. This is the map of everything that was found on his route. The blue dots are the remains that they were found.
Well, that would be quite a way to go without any boots on.
It would. And the weirdest part about those remains is they were actually found outside of a farmhouse.
Sweetgrass Ranch.
Sweetgrass Ranch.
Was there any phone or camera that they found?
No. I believe his bow was never found either. Just his backpack. Lots of his gear was missing. But they couldn't explain how his remains got so much further than his boots and his backpack got so much further than him. Didn't make much sense.
How were the boots found? Were they found like placed together, or were
Placed together on a cliff edge. Similar to another one we talked about.
That's definitely like the way that certain things are found are definitely ruling out animals time and time again. Like that one could be like, okay, you got dragged away by a predator or something. But the boots were nice and together on the cliffside.
The thing is that
Or this kid got mauled to death and his bones were left there to, be bones, but their clothes were folded up.
Yeah, but even when you try to go towards like it being like a predator would not drag you miles and miles and miles to eat you. They'll eat you rather close. They'll drag you.
Well, hold on. We talked about a predator that drags someone miles and miles and miles.
Who's that?
That Bigfoot abduction.
Well, it wasn't a predator, and it was taking it back home.
I think Bigfoot could be the ultimate predator, but that's besides the case.
Here's the thing. We're not on to Bigfoot yet about this, because this gets into stuff that's really weird that you're going to fucking hate me for.
You say that a lot.
I do.
I still don't hate you.
Oh, thanks.
I'm close, but not yet.
We'll just keep walking that line. I'll test your patience. The thing is that Aaron's bones had no sign of animal predation. They had scavenging, but no predation. Again, probably harder to tell when it's just bones. But still, like, his backpack wasn't ripped up or nothing like that. It's just a weird thing that we can't explain. Also, another thing that kind of adds to it, a rather sad thing, is Aaron was a recovering alcoholic. And if he actually just was starting to get clean, and he would have been succumbing to, like, withdrawals. Traveling miles and miles and miles on withdrawal, nearly impossible. Especially distances in the elevation that he went. When you're suffering withdrawal, you're just sitting there doing nothing. You don't want to go anywhere. It's a terrible experience. So it doesn't make sense for him. So I don't know what to make of the Aaron Hedges case. And something you will see brought up when I was searching the Aaron Hedges case was a lot of people were giving shit to David Paulides. And I just realized how many haters David Paulides has. If you go online and search a lot of missing 411 stuff, you'll find a lot of Reddit threads saying that David Paulides is an absolute fraud and how much people hate him, to a point that I don't think it's deserved. I haven't seen anything that says he deserves this much hate. There's some things he misses in investigations. And in the Aaron Hedges case, I saw these guys lambasting him, saying he's an absolute fraud, he deserves to die, typical internet things. And do you want to know the reason why?
Why?
Because in the documentary that they made about the missing 411 cases, they said Aaron Hedges went missing on September 6th, not September 7th.
Yeah, I mean, hang that guy from a tree.
That's it. That's all he said. And then everyone's ranting, I told you he's a fraud. He got the date wrong. He got the date wrong. People get dates wrong. I'll give him that. But these cases are other cases that you can find without David Paulides' research and find weird shit about it. He's the one just put it out into the ether. You can still research them on your own. So don't hang a guy for getting the date wrong by one day. And his documentary, one of the documentaries, Missing 411 The Hunted, which is about experienced hunters in the wild, is actually really good. And it's on Amazon Prime, and I highly suggest watching it. It's really interesting. Again, I don't understand the hate, but people hate things for some reason.
Haters going to hate.
Haters going to hate. Just it's what they do. It's what they're here for.
That Satan wasn't born out of nothing.
It was not.
Haters be hating.
This is true.
It's too bad that there isn't like a consistent way that the stuff's found. Like some stuff's spread out, some stuff's all together. Sometimes there's bones, sometimes there's nothing.
It's very strange and
inconsistent.
It is inconsistent. And the times that they do find an actual body, there's something strange about it that we actually talked about in the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Placed like purposefully?
No. There's no rigor mortis on the bodies. It looks as if they were decomposing in zero gravity.
What could that mean?
Well, would you like to talk about what some possible theories are?
Aliens.
That's one of the leading theories. So, I have some other stories that I'm going to share with you. Before we get into those, let's get into some theories of what this could be, because right now it's a lot of strangeness.
Yep.
First off, for skeptics, they say it's just human error, animal predation, or foul play of some kind, with like murder or even suicide. But I told you at the beginning, if there's any animal predation, if there's any murder, if there's any suicide or mental health issues, the cases are ruled out. Now for theories on what it could be, which are all strange, I want to let you know that David Paulides does not believe in any of these theories. He actually doesn't give his theory, because he says there's too many outlying factors. And if he comes down onto a theory, he's afraid that his research will be blown off and he'll be a hack if it's seen as something strange. and he's already had to fight against being a bit strange. David Paulides was once the head of the Sasquatch research in America. He's a big Bigfoot guy. But after he started getting to Missing 411, he started separating himself from the Bigfoot thing because he wanted to seem more credible. He just thought it was something fun. He thought it was interesting.
Hey, the Bigfoot guy wants to look for missing people. What a lunatic.
Basically, yeah. That's people actually bring up a lot. He was the head of Bigfoot research in America, or another organization that was researching Bigfoot.
If he couldn't find Bigfoot, how could he find all these people?
Good point.
Bigfoot's a lot bigger than some of these people, probably.
Now, David Paulides also said he's not a investigator as looking into where these people go. He's trying to be more of a guy who collects all the data for this, because he is not a survivor man. He is not a guy who can go out and do search and rescue. He was a cop. Doesn't mean he's good in the wilderness. So he is more of a guy that wants to make the list that isn't there.
Was he a cop while he was head of the Bigfoot Research Association?
I don't know. I think it's like an in-between him leaving the force and becoming a private investigator. But he was a big part of it. He was very interested in Bigfoot, and lots of people take that and throw it out like, he likes Bigfoot. He's a hack.
Fair.
I like Bigfoot.
And you're a bit of a hack.
Fuck you. I'm not. Fuck yourself. You know what?
I'm
Fuck
sorry,
you.
that was uncalled for.
No, it wasn't. I've given you enough shit. But here, motherfucker. I've gotten you. Okay, let's look. We started this podcast. You said you wouldn't believe any of this shit, okay? And I said I could investigate it and prove things to you. And I have gotten you to 2 5 out of 5s on cases that you would not believe in. I do some pretty damn good research for a guy who works a lot.
Well, this is what the audience doesn't see. The big puppy dog eyes you're giving me when you're waiting for my number.
Puppy dog eyes?
Begging me to not say one.
Begging. I'm not begging.
Please, James, believe in the big snake in the Congo.
That one was easy. That one, I gave you scientific evidence. I gave you the name of the goddamn camera they used. And let's look back
Canon.
Let's look back. It wasn't a Canon. Let's look back at the Oakville Blob case. That was a 5 out of 5, but you were over a 3. But what took you to get you to that 5 was me showing you other people saying the exact same thing I said. Just because somebody believes in Bigfoot doesn't mean they're a hack. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think David Paulides...
I'm sorry I insulted you.
That's okay. It was hilarious.
David Paulides had it coming, though.
So David Paulides gets a lot of shit for being a guy who's into Bigfoot. And he knows that. That's why he doesn't mention Bigfoot in any of these cases. He'll bring up strange things that have happened, but he doesn't tie it into a Bigfoot theory.
Not even once.
He just takes the information that he's told
and
writes it down and releases it. He writes several books on this.
Right. Presents it as presented.
Yes.
Doesn't put theories to it.
He considers himself just a guy who collects all of the information for everyone else to decide.
Yeah.
And he takes it very seriously. He has separated himself from Bigfoot and stuff like that because of this. Again, there is no centralized database for all these missing people. But Paulides did discover that there is a pattern, that they form in clusters. There is over 59 geographical clusters of missing 411 cases, the largest being in Yosemite National Park. As of right now, there's an estimated 1,400 to 1,600 people who fall under the missing 411 category. And the reason it's not an exact number is because there are some that are still being investigated, or some that kind of walk the line. But with that, let's go back to some of those theories that I was talking about. First theory, aliens. There is no evidence of tracks, of a struggle. People just disappear out of nowhere and end up sometimes hundreds of miles away and then are returned years later. And some say it could be linked to that of cattle mutilation or other things. They don't really know. I do think there's something to the theory that it could be aliens. Not necessarily I do think it's aliens, but I think that I see why people think that. You know, there's a lot of people disappearing. Another theory that's commonly proposed is it's some sort of cryptid, like Bigfoot, or what people say is Wendigo or Skinwalker. What they mean by that is pale crawler. Now, Bigfoot could be a possibility. we recently talked about a case where a man was abducted by Bigfoot. And maybe sometimes people don't make it when they get abducted by Bigfoot, and when they're done with their pet, they just bring it back. So it could be. And there's actually some kind of credence to this. Lots of children who get taken and are found alive report being taken by a bear man who took care of them in the woods and then brought them back. Some children claim that when they went missing and couldn't find their way out, several creatures would watch them from the trees every night when they went to sleep. And actually, in an earlier case we talked about, Dennis Martin, there was a possible Bigfoot sighting linked to that case. But on the same day that Dennis Martin went missing, there was another family out in the Smoky Mountains. They asked the park rangers where to go to see black bears. They wanted to go out into the woods and get some good nature photography, get some good views. Well, they showed them the area. Well, when they went out there, they heard what they described as a terrible scream. And their young son actually said, "Look, a black bear." And when they looked up on the incline, they saw a large, hairy man running up the side of the incline, carrying something. They said they didn't know what it was carrying, but it was just kind of holding it up to its chest and shoulder area. The father told the young man, "I don't think that's a black bear." And they didn't think anything of it until later when they heard Dennis Martin went missing. And when they heard this, they went forward and said, "Hey, we saw this nearby where this boy was taken. And I think you should take it seriously." Because they thought either, they didn't really think Bigfoot, they thought just a wild man in the woods. And the cops didn't take them seriously. The cops said there's no validity to that claim. Well, when they were adamant that they saw this, and that they think it was linked to the boy, they did go searching the area. And unfortunately, they did not find anything. But it shows that Bigfoot are linked to possible missing 411. But again, not the only cryptid that's linked to the missing 411. As we've talked about before, pale crawlers. Lots of the missing 411 cases happen around rock clusters or caves. And as we showed in the pale crawler episode, missing people in the United States of America align almost perfectly with the largest cave systems in the United States of America, which lines up almost perfectly with pale crawler reports.
Lots of predators also hide in caves.
Lots of predators also do hide in caves. But again, there is no blood, no ripped clothes, no nothing. They're just snatched out of midair.
Don't you think a pale crawler would leave a blood stain and not fold the clothes when it's done?
Well, pale crawlers have been described as extremely fast. So, like how we talked about in the pale crawler case, T was driving at 50 miles an hour, and this thing caught up and landed in his car.
Yeah.
If that thing had run that fast, I'm thinking something like out of A Quiet Place. Just snatch you and go before you can even say anything.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if these things are that fast, that nimble, and we've talked about before in the pale crawler case how they sometimes would climb in trees or jump from tree to tree, or they're extremely athletic that way. If they're that agile and that inhumanly fast, I could see them snatching a kid without anyone hearing anything.
Sure, but I can't picture whatever a pale crawler might be folding clothes neatly on a log or putting some boots side by side out on a cliff edge.
And again, that's not every case, but yes, that is true.
Yeah.
And not saying that these theories, it has to be one of these.
Right.
It could be an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Before we get into another out there theory, there is one more theory that's a bit more down to earth and actually has been seen before in national parks. Feral people.
Kids raised by wolves.
Yeah, we've seen it before. Feral people are a thing that have been discovered. And there have been people who have abandoned their responsibilities in society and just gone to live in the woods. And actually, national parks are a place you are allowed to live in. You can set up camp and stuff in a national park and stay there if you wanted to.
I heard a story of a guy that basically did that for some crazy amount of years. I was like, oh, how did he survive? What did he do? He was just like stealing stuff from people.
Oh yeah, that was the guy in Maine.
I
Yeah.
think so. But he even like a pair of glasses and everything. So it's like on one hand he's this wild guy who's been living in the woods for 20 years. On the other hand, it's a man that was like foraging and stealing from people to survive.
Yeah,
Because he didn't want to pay taxes.
yeah, there was this I forget the full story, but there was an urban legend going around in this town in Maine of this guy who would come in at night and steal people's stuff. And everyone thought it was just a big joke, like, oh, watch out, they had like a name for him and stuff. Like he was basically like a cryptid. And then he left in like the 1970s or something, and they found him in like 1999 and they arrested him. It was just some guy who didn't want to pay taxes and ran into the woods. Honestly, though, relatable.
I was just gonna say the man's living the dream. Like,
right?
That's what we all yearn for.
Yeah.
Is to live in the woods and steal from people and not pay taxes.
But in all seriousness, feral people are a thing. And some people claim that national parks were made to hide the populations of feral people in the United States of America.
I don't know if I'm buying that one yet.
I don't know if they were there to hide, but I could see that back in the 1800s, some people who did not want to conform to the United States way of life and just living in the woods anyway.
Well, if we know one thing about the United States, it's they like to respect people's wishes. And if crazy people want to live in the woods, we'll protect those woods. It's the American way.
Goddamn right, I guess.
You think they'd let Canadians live in the woods?
No, remember we weren't allowed to do that last summer in Halifax. They were anyway.
I wasn't clear enough. Would they allow Canadians to go live in the American national parks? Here in Canada, they'd just fine you $50,000 for stepping into the woods.
Probably not, because we're just like snow Mexicans to them, I guess. I mean, they're all about deporting right now. We give them a whole new meaning to their word ice.
But on the other side, all those feral people probably don't have any IDs on them.
Probably not. I actually saw a video of this guy
come out of the woods once every 4 years to vote illegally in California.
I actually saw this video of this guy the other day. He was raised in like the boons in the United States. But the thing is that his birth certificate was washed away in a flood. So there's no record of him existing. So he literally just lives in the woods, and there's actually no record of him living.
What are you going to do?
He's like climbing trees like a monkey and stuff, but he was dressed like an Amish guy. It was really cool. I don't know. It was a crazy video. Anyway.
Oh, that's a pale crawler.
It kind of looked like it, actually, if you took it too literally.
What were we talking about?
Our theories. Some actual explanations.
Right.
Well, there is one more. And this one's more outlandish than any of the other ones.
More outlandish than aliens. More outlandish than Bigfoot. More outlandish than fungus.
I don't think there's anything to your fungus theory there, bud.
I think there might be.
Really?
Yep.
I've seen nothing for it right now.
I haven't seen Bigfoot yet either.
Touche.
Nor has the guy that was the fucking head of the Bigfoot Research Institution
We're
of
not
America.
talking about David and his Bigfoot, okay? We're talking about the missing 411. We can talk about Bigfoot at another time. There's so much more Bigfoot that we are going to talk about. This is not what we're here for.
What's the last theory?
Wormholes and time slips.
Okay.
People seem to blink out of existence with absolutely no evidence of where they went or if they were even there. No footprints, no struggle. They just disappear. This is similar to what we see in the Bermuda Triangle, what we see in other different areas around the world that have strange disappearances. People just kind of blip. Could it be people are just slipping out of time? And then their body slips back in.
Hey, maybe.
We don't know, but it's another theory.
It'd be cool if we could find someone's stuff that went missing before they went missing. But that's not how time travel works. People can only go forward in time, and that would line up with this.
As far as we know.
What's your favorite theory so far? It's probably Bigfoot.
No, I have no idea what this could be.
Do you have any of your own theories? How about that so far?
I have no idea what's going on. I'm stumped. I just think it's weird that this is going on. It's like people just disappearing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
With no evidence, not even a shred of clothing. And if they do find a shred of clothing, it's 100 miles away. And then they find their body another few hundred miles away. Things like that. It's just insane to me, and it makes no sense to me. There's no animal predation. There's no sign of anything like that. I kind of lean towards, I don't even know. we'll get into a few other stories here.
Well, yeah, you can think on it for a bit. I have a couple more questions.
Please do.
Is it always one person that disappears at a time?
As far as I can tell, it's usually one person. There's a few stories where 2 or 3 people go missing, but some of those I think can be chalked up to drownings and stuff like that. Like there's 2 people who disappeared on a river down the Grand Canyon, but they were in a homemade raft going down White Rapids.
Right.
So I think they just drowned. Although I haven't looked into that one, so who knows?
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it's usually one person. They're usually at the back of the line or stray a little too far ahead, and there's no sound or nothing. They just disappear.
Yeah, and that. I guess pretty much answers the other question I had here. Were all the disappearances silent? Like, did anyone hear a noise in any of these cases, or are they always just like, flip, gone?
Not always. Sometimes they do hear a sound. Sometimes they find the person alive. And sometimes those people have stories of what happened to them. This is where the cases take a more extreme turn. You ready to dive into the weird shit?
Oh, yeah.
Let's give her. Join us next week for part 2 on the Missing 411, where we will discuss some of the most bizarre cases and even get into some accounts from survivors. Until then, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like what we're doing here, please rate and follow on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to us. It really goes a long way. Also, tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best advertisement, and it's free. If I've missed anything, or if you have any case recommendations, or even if you have some of your own evidence from your own cases, you can email us at darkdosandpod@gmail.com. Also follow us on all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, case photos and updates. Words to the wise, if you're planning a trip to national parks, maybe choose a different destination. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.